The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let's talk about the main event of this night, fellas. Everybody came to see your heavyweight champion, Jon Jones, defends his belt and defeats Stipe Miocic. TKO. Spinning back kicking punches. Me and Steve had Jon Jones and Admire had Stipe. So round one, all Jon Jones. Got Stipe down to the ground and pound, big elbows. I thought they were close to stopping it, but ref let it go on. Round two was a little less action, but Jones won the stand-up battle. It was just quicker to the point, and he was cracking Stipe with some overhand rights and stunning them some, which was pretty interesting. And same with round three, and it was that spinning back kick that dropped him, and he finished it off with ground and pound, not too much ground and pound because Stipe is pretty much done after that. And still, your heavyweight champion, Jon Bones Jones. What were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, Jon Jones dominated that fight, man. That trip that he did, as soon as that trip happened, I was like, wow, it's just going to be one-sided. Stipe looked like old man. He's really dropped off since the time that he lost last fight. It took a lot for Stipe to come in there, coming off of a knockout loss years ago to the Ngannou, and come straight in and fight the GOAT. He looked like a shell of his former self. He wasn't moving great. He didn't have a lot of speed. He wasn't blocking much. It just wasn't the same guy that I'm used to watching. But Jones looked good, so I was wrong.
So, what in your head try to convince yourself that Stipe would win?
I just thought that it would have been the former version of Stipe that was really light on his feet, moved around really good for a heavyweight, and even DC and John Anik and Rogan and all them were talking about how big Stipe looked. Stipe came in big compared to like he used to, but I thought, it would have been a previous version of Stipe. I thought that with the layoff, he would have had time to just kind of rebuild himself and game plan and really go above and beyond since it is Jon Jones. I thought, and I root for underdogs, man.
So I'm not gonna act like I'm a know-it-all because I'm just a fan like everyone else. But on the pre-show, if you go back and listen, I said those Cormier trilogy and the Ngannou fight, I said Stipe left a whole lot of himself back in the fight. I said all the times undefeated, 3 years off, a lot of ring rust, and looked pretty rusty in there. And another thing, you mentioned that Jon Jones didn't have any knockout power. I said maybe not in the hands, and he looked good with the hands. I said he can knock people out with kicks. And what happened? Spinning back kick. So
yeah, he was right. And it's just, I'm not even used to seeing Jon Jones at heavyweight now, man. Like his belly, he's got a fucking pot belly. He looks like a toddler running around in a diaper out there.
I mean, it's weird because he looks thicker, but he still, if you look at him, he still has like a little bit of a six-pack showing still. So it's like a six-pack with a little bit of extra. But what were your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Well, what I thought is it looked like Stipe was looking for something that wasn't there. He was and not only that, the reason why I think he had even a competition with Ngannou is because these people weren't as multidimensional as Jon Jones. Ngannou's pretty linear, he knew he had to watch out for his power. And that's why, he even survived the first fight, or even looked like he can even pull through the second fight, although Ngannou looked dominant in that. this one, I don't think he's fought anybody as multi-dimensional as Jon Jones. Jon Jones was throwing those keep kicks, like I mean, snapping to his body. Still moves good in heavyweight. Stipe just looked too flat, waiting for something to happen. I think like had a lot to do with ring rust because he just didn't know when to strike. Because I think he felt Jon Jones' pattern as it went on. He just couldn't find an opening, especially after he took Stipe down and controlled him. I'm like, oh, he can do that anytime he wants to. And it for real, it didn't look like Jon Jones even wanted to take it to the ground after that, even though it was confirmed. I bet you everybody the least expecting knockout was that spinning back kick. And I guess we see that, he don't be throwing that for no reason. I mean, that thing has power in it. And like I said, there was so much movement. It was almost following Jon Jones' rhythm, and I think that's what cost him the fight. I mean, he wasn't doing nothing to press the action or anything.
For sure. So let's talk about some post-fight sound bites. So, at the post-fight press conference, they asked Jon Jones what's next, and he kind of was talking out of both sides of his mouth because he was saying that he doesn't want to fight any up-and-comers. He did that in his career. He doesn't want to fight any dangerous up-and-comers. When they asked him about Aspinall, he said he wants to do established and already there dangerous guys, as in Alex Pereira. But then I think either later on or early on in the press conference, he said if he fights Aspinall, they're gonna have to come with him and basically back the Brinks truck up and give him a bag. So I don't know what your thoughts on that, Admire.
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of people online talking about if he's ducking Aspinall, but I think this is just Jon Jones's game to get paid to fight Aspinall. He's going to get the bag on this. Dana White came out after the press conference and said he's not making Jones versus Pereira because it's not the same and it's not the fight to make.
But did you hear what he said a little bit after that? He was like, if they just keep pressing it, then I'll make it. So he's kind of talking out both sides of his mouth too, as far as that.
But Jones is going to take him down and do what he wants with him. Like, Jon Jones isn't stupid. He isn't going to stay in there and trade with a world-class striker like that. I mean, I honestly think Jon Jones is just playing the game, acting like he don't want to fight Aspinall, so the UFC will say, all right, 10 million, and make that the real retirement fight.
Before I respond to that, what do you think, Steve?
If so, that's a great strategy because I mean he calls the shots now. I mean, for real, he can just retire and go off into the sunset. He defended it. I can see him making that, and then we see Pereira talking about he wants to go up with heavyweight. That gives me the possibility it might happen, but maybe Jon Jones is pulling out a tactic that Dana does, playing the old possum game and saying, I don't want to fight. And not only that, literally probably can retire. So Dana's probably kissing Jon Jones' butt now and saying he's the pound per pound now. And so he can stay in the UFC, a little bit longer. I think Jon Jones has the call now.
Yeah, I mean, like Admire said, he's just trying to posture to negotiate, and he's trolling. And you got a lot of people. He's scared. I mean, those are people that are actually not actually researching. I'm not going to call them stupid, but they just go off and see what they want to see, and don't do the research. And Jon Jones, I don't think he's scared to go. It's because his ego. He's not scared to fight anybody on the planet, I don't think. But like Amar said, he just wants to get the biggest payday as possible from the UFC. Like, why would he go out and just say, sure, I'll fight him. It's not like it's 23-year-old Jon Jones where he Shogun the foot. He took that. They gave him a title shot in the cage right when he was done facing Ryan Bader. Like he's gonna take every fight that they give him. He's got the leverage now, and they're gonna have to pay him to face Tom Aspinall because, like he said, Tom Aspinall, we know him. We know how dangerous he is of a fighter. But if you're outside of the UFC bubble, he doesn't really have that big of a name yet. And if he beats Jon Jones, that will just make him a bigger star. So if I have a possibility of losing, why not get the biggest bag that I could get? So I think that's who he fights next. I think it's going to be Aspinall, most likely. I don't know. Jon Jones didn't really take any damage. I could see it being in March, the Vegas fight, if they negotiate, right? I don't think that would be his retirement fight, though. I still think that Pierre fight would be, fight. What is it? International Fight Week. That'd be huge. But I mean, when we were talking about the actual fight, I don't see anybody in the division, in the heavyweight division, those slow lumbering guys that are as versatile as Jon Jones. I feel like once they make the fight, we'll go and analyze it in depth. But just off of the rip, I think Aspinall's only path to victory that I can see is if he catches him and knocks him out. Really, I mean that's a strong possibility because we've seen Aspinall do it against pretty much everybody he's facing. But I just see more ways to victory for Jon Jones. Just thinking off the top of my head, I don't know. You think, Admire?
For me, I would probably go against the grain again. I'd probably take Aspinall. I think that he's younger and faster. I think that he hits a lot harder. I think his only path to victory is the knockout, but I do think he would get it eventually. I think it's just, it's time. It's a new crop, a younger, fresher fighter. And it sounds crazy to even say after everything I've seen Jon Jones do. So I'll go against the grain and say Aspinall, but I'm not going to be surprised if Jones just wins.
I don't know. Your first thoughts on it, like I said, once they actually make the fight, my thoughts may actually change. But who knows, Steve?
Yeah. When I see Tom Aspinall and try to compare him to any Jon Jones fight, I'm trying to
maybe a Rampage.
I'll equivalent to Dominic Reyes because Dominic Reyes, they say he was getting pretty good strikes off. So since Tom Aspinall kind of has that quick striking, and probably long enough and lanky enough to par with as far as lengthwise is, maybe Aspinall has a chance to get one of those 1-2s off like he did with what's that guy's name that he just knocked out not too long ago? Caught him with a 1-2 real quick.
Haymaker?
Yeah, and dazed him. I can see if since Jon Jones, he be fading away from shots. He haven't got hit flush, as far as where he's dazed. But who knows in heavyweight or Aspinall can touch him, with one of these shots that he's trying to put his other hand up and then try to catch it on the other side of his face like Jon Jones does. One of those punches might slip. So, but Jon Jones, I can definitely see him if he gets somebody's legs and takes him down. I'm pretty sure he can keep him down and start doing those elbows and ground and pounds to start affecting the fight like he did with Stipe in the first round.
And I get why you brought up the Reyes fight, but Reyes has the kicking range as well, a little bit lighter. I'm trying to think of because Aspinall, from the fights that I can remember, he doesn't throw a whole lot of kicks, if I can remember. So I'm trying to think of off the top of my head who would be somebody at Jones' face besides like a Rampage that was not competitive. Maybe like a Shogun, prime Shogun that had a lot of power back in the day. And Cyril Gane is I think Aspinall is a little bit heavier in his hands with Cyril Gahn, but Cyril Gahn's a pretty, well adept stand-up dude, especially that he throws some kicks too. So it's really not a whole lot of guys that Jones has faced like Aspinall. So it'll be exciting once they do make the fight. But like we said, Jones has the ball in his court, so we'll see, his negotiating power and how quick they get it done. Matter of fact, I said March. I think that's a little bit too ambitious. I think the soonest we see that is International Fight Week, if it does happen. And then, depending on how that fight goes, maybe we'll see another fight MSG next year, depending if Jones wins. If he loses, they'll probably make a rematch at MSG with him and Aspinall. If Aspinall wins, but if Jones wins, maybe they'll try to do that super fight with Pierre, but we'll have to see what happens. But as far as the loser goes, Stipe, he retired. He said that's it for him. And then they asked him again recently, I think in the interview, and he said, yep, that's it for him. So it's a career for Stipe. How can you pretty much sum up Stipe's career, Admire?
I mean, he's one of the best heavyweights to do it. I hope he's not defined by his losses, when, we start talking about him in the future. But I don't know if he's really even Hall of Fame caliber. Even though he's one of the most decorated heavyweights, does he have any real like moments that you would say puts him in the Hall of Fame?
He's definitely Hall of Fame.
You think so?
Yeah, he went on a hell of a run when he beat Hunt, Arlovsky, Fabricio Verdun when Fabricio Verdun was super scary, Overeem, JDS, Francis Ngannou, Cormier twice. Yeah, that's Hall of Fame.
I mean, that is a good lineup. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I don't know. It just I hope it isn't like a recency bias of.
I was gonna say like best heavyweights of all time, him or not Fabricio Verdun.
Cain Velasquez?
No, Fedor Emelianenko. Because Fedor Emelianenko, of course, he had a hell of a run, but spread the schedule.
Yeah, well, Fedor was over there fighting in Japan, though. So I don't know. I mean, Stipe, I mean, I guess since you read off his row, yeah, he beat a lot of people, but it's just like, I don't know.
His three losses, though, like you said, you might be having recency bias with his three losses. He lost to Cormier, he lost to Ngannou, and he lost to Jones.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the best people in the world, but it's like you can say Jon Jones is the GOAT. You can say Mighty Mouse was the GOAT of his division because things stick out and just like not a lot of stuff about Stipe stick out to me. Yeah, he beat DC, which DC floated between, light heavyweight, and DC's very short. It's kind of a size mismatch. It's probably just recency bias in my mind.
I don't know. That when he knocked out Verdun in Brazil in front of hostile territory, that's a moment that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
champion of the world.
And he was, I thought he was losing that fight. He was backpedaling, got that knockout.
Yeah, I can't believe Struve beat him. I think he just must have been off on that night when Stephen Struve beat him, but that was real early on before he went on that run. But I don't know. How can you sum up his career, Steve?
Like you say, a lot of these things, he either lost in one, which was Cormier, and then Ngannou he won, but he lost in that one. Coming out of his career, he lost with Jon Jones, but it definitely has significant moments, like you say, that were doomed. Catch him in on the back up, threw that straight. Of course, Ngannou, because that first round, it looked like Ngannou was about to tear his head off, and he just something in his head you can see just triggered and said and focused, and he started doing his MMA stuff. Went for takedowns. striking with him. And then he got caught a few times and then went back to the drawing board and got that win. I think that was a significant moment, saying Ngannou left the UFC on top of the world, and still is one of the best heavyweight fighters. So you can say he got that win off the best fighter that's currently in heavyweight outside of UFC. Like I said, and maybe I get what Admire is saying. Maybe there's certain other champions that had more KO highlight reels, amazing things. Anderson Silva. Maybe he doesn't have that, but he definitely has moments to definitely be a Hall of Famer, and the record to back it up. Like EJ was saying, DC, Ngannou, all these people coming up. Werdum definitely deserves a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, definitely a Hall of Famer. And just comparing wins to wins, Fedor went on a hell of a run. I mean, I can't even count. It was like 20-something fight streak. But
he had like a 31 fight streak or something that he won.
Yeah, it was because he lost his. Not quite. He didn't quite get to 30. It was like 20 because he was 4-1 before he went on that streak, and then he was 31-2 when he finally lost. So a little bit under 30 fights, but still. But I'm looking at some of the names. A lot of them were cans, but he does have some good wins in there. Yeah, Heath Herring, Big Nog. That's a good one.
Yeah, Heath Herring was good back in the day.
Old Mark. I'm not even counting this Mark Coleman because that was an old Mark Coleman in 2006. Kevin Randleman. I think that was an older Kevin Randleman. Well, he faced Mark Coleman in 2004, so it's still an old Mark Coleman. Kevin Randleman, 2004. I'll give him that one. And then he had a no contest against Big Nog. He beat Big Nog twice. Crow Cop, that's a good one. That's in 2005. Why did he face Mark Coleman again? He did face him in 2006. He faced him twice. Mark Hunt, that's a good win. Tim Sylvia, people, even though Tim Sylvia is a former UFC heavyweight champion, a lot of people shit on Tim Sylvia for some reason. Orlovsky, that's a good one. Then Brett Rogers, and then he just went on a big losing streak after that. He lost against Verdum's at Bigfoot Silva, Henderson, Dan Henderson. Which is interesting because Dan Henderson is known for being at middleweight and light heavyweight. Matt Mitrione, he lost to Matt Mitrione, but this was an old Fedor by then. So I don't know, man. A lot of people still always have Fedor as their all time, but I feel like Stipe not too far off as far as heavyweights. But like Admire, like I said, comparing to other champions, maybe not as much memorable moments, but Stipe is definitely a Hall of Famer. So hats off to him for a very decorated and successful career.
Thank you for checking out this Haymaker Combat Sports segment. This full episode can be found on the Haymaker Combat Sports YouTube page and in audio form on all major podcast platforms. Until next time, peace.